But we are going to start with transfer news because there's a lot of it floating around, and we are told that Cody Gakpo is now in England ahead of a medical, moving from PSV to Liverpool. So let's find out where Gakpo might fit in at Anfield. Delighted to say we can speak to our European football expert, Andy Brassell. Andy, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming on. What do you make of this one then?
It's one of those ones that's come a little bit out of left field, not in that he's not a player that suits Liverpool, because I think he does, not because he's a player who doesn't have the level for Liverpool, because I think he does, but because we are all assuming that he would go to Manchester United. The thing is, things have escalated for him so quickly. He's worked very hard over the last couple of years, Cody Gakpo, to get to the level that he has. 23 years old now, so almost an old-fashioned sort of organic progression for him. His numbers have been absolutely off the scale this season. We saw what a serious player he was at the top level during the World Cup as well with the Netherlands. But Leeds were really close to signing him last summer, and if the clubs had agreed a deal, I'm sure he would have taken that last summer. Then it was Manchester United who were taking the lead on this, but this is a very typical Liverpool bit of transfer business, really, Pete, in that you don't hear anything about it, and all of a sudden they swoop in. And we know they've done their homework. We know they're meticulous. We know they move really stealthily, and they just get it done.
Andy, how do you see him fitting in at Liverpool? Is he a centre forward, like a number 9, or is he going to come from the wide areas, do you think? How do you see him fitting into a team that already has a lot of attacking talent?
It does. No, I guess it's two different questions, really, Pete. We're talking about immediate for Liverpool and more long-term. Immediately, he's had a great season at PSV, coming in off the left flank, as Memphis Depay did all those years ago when he rocked up at Manchester United. And you can get so much out of Gakpo from that sort of position, because he's not just a goal scorer, he's a goal creator as well. He's a very judicious passer of the ball. He can change pace and direction very well. And that suits Liverpool immediately, I think, because you look at Luis Diaz and the fact that he's going to be out for the foreseeable. That is where I would see him fitting at Liverpool in the here and now. Where we get a bit further down the line, that's different. Maybe they're looking for that reference point centre forward, something that Liverpool have got by without, really. Of course, Roberto Firmino and Darwin Núñez are very different types of centre forward. Having said that, and we know that Núñez can drift into wide areas as well. So I would have thought, if you look at him, 6'3.5", great in the air, as he underlined during the World Cup. And the fact that the Netherlands played a little bit Route 1 on occasion helped us see that, I think. Maybe that could be more his long-term position for Liverpool.
We're going to look at some stats now as well, Andy, with regards to Gakpo. And as you can see here, with his goals at 9 in the Eredivisie, that makes him top goal scorer. 12 assists as well, he's top of that. First in the shots ranking as well with 51, and shots on target as well. And he likes to run with the ball as well. Only one player has attempted more dribbles than Cody Gakpo in the Dutch league this season. So, I mean, looking at that, it's pretty impressive.
It is pretty impressive. I mean, I think sometimes it's quite difficult to see how Eredivisie statistics will transfer to the Premier League. It's a significant leap. Having said that, as I said, he's someone who has built himself over a number of years, and the numbers have improved year on year. You talked about him wanting to take players on. I think that's really important when you're talking about an immediate replacement for Luis Diaz, and why Luis Diaz fitted so quickly for Liverpool is because he was able to do plenty off the ball as well as on the ball. Now, if Gakpo can do that, then it'll be a really, really great replacement for him in the short term, before maybe moving inside, because we know he likes to score goals as well as link play.
Let me ask you about the Monaco centre-back, Benoit Badiashile. £35 million, we're told. Chelsea are in for him. What kind of a player are they trying to sign there?
They're trying to sign a player who's the present as well as the future. Premier League clubs have been interested in him for a couple of years, forming an orderly or slightly disorderly queue. Badiashile's potential has been obvious. He's become more and more consistent. He wasn't that far off getting picked for the France squad for the World Cup, but I think you look at some of the players ahead of him, like Upamecano, like Konate, playing for some of the very best clubs in Europe. I sort of see him as a slightly better version of Presnel Kimpembe of Paris Saint-Germain, who was in the mix for a move to Chelsea last summer. I think that you're getting great value with Badiashile for a number of reasons. Firstly, he's 21 years old and he's played over 120 games at club level already. So he's got great experience. He's really poised and calm, so he can play in a back four or a back three, which is pretty useful. Great in the air, doesn't give the ball away much, very elegant and graceful on the ball, big enough to handle himself. So I think that looks for a decent adaptation. And of course, the fact that his contract's running down, he's only got a year and a half left on his deal. Now, it's quite unlike Monaco to get themselves in this sort of position. They're very, very good sellers of players, and they have been over the past 5 or 6 years. But at this point, you're getting pretty much as good value as you would get in a January for a player of that sort of value and potential.
Chelsea have spent a lot of money on centre-backs, haven't they, Andy? I mean, Koulibaly's come in for Fana as well. They've got Thiago Silva there. I mean, do you see Badiashile going straight into the team? I mean, it's a lot of money to spend on someone who's going to be a reserve. Or, you know, how do you see him fitting in?
I think he's going to play, quite simply. I mean, they are doing this extended handover from Thiago Silva, who they've done very well, I think, to get so much out of. Bear in mind that PSG wouldn't give him the contract that he wanted, and that's why he ended up going to Chelsea. And he's proved them completely wrong in the time that he's been in the Premier League, Thiago Silva. But there is a sense that, you know, he can't play all the games of the season anymore. There will be that kind of handover to Badiashile. You bear in mind that Koulibaly has had a tough old adaptation to the Premier League, I think it's fair to say, as well. I think the adaptability is really important because Chelsea do want that option to play with a three as well as with a back four. He can do both of those very, very comfortably. I think he'll get plenty of games between now and the end of the season. And bear in mind that, you know, they're also in for Joshua Gvardiol, but he was just going to be so expensive. It seems that Leipzig have got him locked up in terms of release fee for the moment, as well as the length of contract that he's on. And you talked, Pete, about Chelsea spending so much on central defenders recently. Could they really go out and spend, 9 figures on Joshua Gvardiol? I think really Badiashile, it sounds like a lot of money, but really, I think in this case, when you look at his experience, when you look at his potential, when you look at his quality, it's a budget option and a very good one.
Arsenal, they're looking at Mudryk of Shakhtar Donetsk as well. What kind of a player are they getting with him, do you think?
An explosive player, a player who can really excite fans, who can make stuff happen down the left-hand side. Terrific pace, really great vision at that sort of pace as well. Can score goals, can create goals. And we've seen that in the Champions League this season, Pete. I mean, I think it's remarkable to think, we talked about Cody Gakpo being a possible target for Leeds and then being quite close on him last summer. Mudryk could have ended up at Brentford towards the end of the summer window. And that is how quickly things move, because since then he's had a brilliant time in that Champions League group with Celtic, with Real Madrid, with RB Leipzig. His performances with Shakhtar are absolutely fantastic. He gets through plenty of work off the ball as well. And really, Shakhtar have been fleeced a little bit in the market with this FIFA ruling that their players can suspend their contracts and get loaned out. You look at what's happened with Tete, with Mano Solomon. They need to extract maximum value for this. So they're not going to be taking any cut price or anything like this. They want to sell for exactly as much as they can get for Mudryk. And they can turn around to these Premier League clubs and go, look, you guys can afford it. You guys know he's good because you've seen him do it in the Champions League. So no excuses. We need top dollar for this guy. That's what they'll be saying. What does top dollar look like then? How much do you think? I'm thinking probably around the 70 mark. Right. I mean, they're talking about 100 million. I'm not sure that's entirely realistic. But bearing in mind that he could have gone for 25, 30 last summer, and since then has been outstanding in the Champions League. He's taken an enormous leap, and it's good timing for Shakhtar. So with Gakpo, Mudryk, Badiashile, all of those covered, I mean, they're 3 big deals anyway. What else should we be looking out for? Do you expect lots more deals, and anyone we should keep an eye on? Maybe. I mean, I'm really interested to see what Manchester United do from this point onward, really, Pete, because Gakpo looked nailed on for them even a couple of weeks ago, and now that's not the case. We're talking about where he'll be used for Liverpool. Well, I think Manchester United could have used him in a centre-forward position. They don't have an enormous amount of cover there. So I'm interested to see whether they can get something moving now, because they don't really want to be leaving it so they're over a barrel in the last couple of days of the transfer window, especially with a relative lack of cover up top.
Great stuff. Andy, as always, absolute pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you.